Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. We are making good on our promise that we are doing more TV show reviews this year with another one. Today we are talking about Trollhunters Season 1. Season 2 dropped on Netflix in December, so we wanted to go back to Season 1 and do a review of that before hitting Season 2.
Now, Brittany has seen Season 1 twice now.
Yeah, because I watched it, I don't know, shortly after it came out, and then we just rewatched it together, and it was Steven's first time watching through.
So, going in, I mean, I had pretty high expectations because I love Guillermo Del Toro. If you haven't seen any of our...
a soundbite that we insert into all of our videos.
Love Guillermo Del Toro. Yeah, because everything by him I end up enjoying, and I was excited to watch this.
As always, we have the disclaimer that this will be a spoiler-filled review. All of our TV show reviews tend to be spoiler-heavy because we just prefer to talk about them that way. So if you haven't seen the show and don't want to be spoiled, go watch it and come back because we do recommend watching it. So let's talk about what this is about. If you're still watching, you've probably already seen it, but this is an animated series by Guillermo Del Toro. It is a Netflix original, and it's just a kid who gets picked to be a troll hunter to save all of the trolls who live beneath his city, and it's lovely.
Which, to be fair, the thing that surprised me, I didn't know going in, the troll hunter does not hunt just trolls. The troll hunter protects trolls by hunting bad trolls or mostly other things. Which I thought was pretty funny.
So normally the troll hunter is a troll. This time it has picked a human. There is a little amulet that chooses who the troll hunter is once a troll hunter has died. And this time it picks Jim Lake, who is voiced by Anton Yelchin. Rest in peace. I don't know what they're going to do for the next season without him. I'm sad about it, but he does an excellent job. As Steven said, this was my second time watching through, so as a first time watching through, what did you think?
I actually really enjoyed it. It was a little bit slow going at first, but I think this show does a really good job of letting you, I guess, get to know those characters. And so by the end, I was very much in love with everyone on like the troll hunting team, because everyone kind of gets their episodes to shine and you grow with them, and it's really good.
This is a kid-focused show based on it being just animated, and it just tends to skew that way. However, I think as an adult, it's still a very enjoyable show to watch.
I would agree. There weren't any moments I felt were like overly kiddie, and there are a couple of more adult themes despite being like kid-friendly. Like there are adult themes throughout, which is a sign of a good cartoon when like adults can watch it and kids, and sometimes pull different things. Like I think there's some jokes in there that kids wouldn't get.
So as always, let's start off talking about the characters. I guess we can start with the main one, which is Jim Lake, voiced by Anton Yelchin.
Jim is interesting because he hits me initially as like the whiny protagonist.
He's the typical like male falling into a hero type position who's just kind of not that great. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of stereotype there. Yeah,
and so throughout season 1, I feel like he does grow out of that a little bit, but he retains a level of the, like, oh, this is happening to me throughout the entire season, I feel like. And it isn't until, I think, the very last moments when he actually decides to make a decision.
Despite him having that as a big character flaw, I guess, I still find him a really good character. He's a very compelling hero. He's enjoyable to watch, but I do think it's the team around him that makes the show.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, you know, his best friend Toby is a huge part of that. And I think Toby is hilarious the whole way through.
My only critique is how many, like, weight-related jokes there are to his character. I really wish that wasn't something that was put into a kid's show. I think it can be really damaging. It's not extremely heavy-handed, but it's there.
Especially in the first couple episodes. Like, there's a whole episode about him being on a diet and people call him chubby. That definitely tapers off to where it's, like, 1 or 2 mentions every couple episodes, but yeah, that's always there for him. But I think his humor's spot on.
We also have the Troll Hunters teacher, I guess, which is Blinky, and I think he's a really fun teacher because he does not have his shit together.
I did enjoy his character at first, and it wasn't until about halfway through the season when he gets turned into a human where I started to enjoy him a little bit more.
That's true, yeah. I mean, I always liked him from the beginning, although I will say that Arg is also a fantastic sidekick. You said he was one of your favorites.
We'll get to Arg afterwards because
Okay.
Arg's like my favorite character.
Yeah, Blinky is the teacher. He is the one who trains the Trollhunter, and they do mention in the past that he has strongly failed in that regard. So it's kind of touch and go for a while. So you've got like whiny Jim, who's not altogether awful, but that's there. And then you've got this like mentor who doesn't 100% know what to do with him. And so it's a weird like mess, but it's endearing.
Yeah, and they all kind of have to figure out how to still do this troll hunting thing with someone who doesn't know how to do it and is a human and a teacher who failed the last time. He doesn't really know what's going on. So Arg, I think, is one of my favorites of at least season 1. Season 2, a little different. We'll get to that in a season 2 review later. But season 1, I really like his arc, especially he starts out as a pacifist and you find out that he's a general of the main villain's like army. He used to be, and so he stopped, and now he's like a pacifist, so he doesn't fight with them at all, even though he's this huge like troll. And I like his character arc because he has to learn to like come back, and he ends up becoming really close friends with Toby.
Yeah, they become wingmen, and it's an adorable friendship. You also have the love interest, which is Claire. I really like her. I just really like her. It tends to have a little bit of the like, oh, she's there to be the love interest at the beginning, but then she becomes this really essential part of the team, and she almost comes across as a little bit of a Buffy-esque character.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think she ends up being very integral to the team, and I think that's the cool thing about this, because it starts to focus on Jim, but then it very quickly is like, no, and gives each character their moment to shine in their space. So even like the comedy relief character like Toby, whereas versus like a show like Buffy, you have like Xander, who ultimately doesn't do anything almost ever. Whereas Toby actually does do stuff. He ends up getting a cool weapon. Like everyone contributes to the group and has their own heroic moments, which I liked.
And as for some minor character interactions, I really, really enjoyed Claire's relationship with not Enrique in this. So if for some reason you've stuck around and not watched the show, Claire's little brother Enrique gets stolen to become a changeling, and he basically the changeling that replaces him they call not Enrique, and I just really enjoy him and Claire's tension-filled friendship. I don't know, I just really liked it. It's
the I hate you turn into like endearment. Yes. By the end.
And not Enrique ends up being like a pretty important part of the team, who's also, he's kind of that like chaotic neutral character.
Yeah, and ends up being like a recurring character throughout the show. So the whole plot of this show revolves around this like mysterious evil guy named Gunmar, and he's this evil troll who almost took over the world, and he's been sealed away for hundreds of years now, thousands, something like that, and he's been sealed away in the Darklands, and the only way to get there is through this bridge. So the first season revolves around, I think his name is Bular, Gunmar's son, who is out of the portal, and Strickler, who is a pretty big villain this season, trying to rebuild this bridge to portal the big bad Gunmar out.
Strickler ends up being a changeling, so he does have a human form. He can walk around during the day, and he is one of Jim's teachers, which was an interesting dynamic.
And Strickler, I think, is a much more interesting villain for the first season than Bular, because Bular's just like this angry troll guy who wants to kill all the troll hunters. And Strickler, though, because he's human, he already has a relationship with Jim, and also begins a relationship with Jim's mother, which is a huge component of this season, and he ends up actually linking their life forces.
Yeah, he's a pretty good villain because he does actually like threaten bodily harm, whereas I feel like a lot of villains in especially kid-related shows are a little more superficial in their threats, which I don't know if that's good or bad for a kid show, but for this show we liked the fact that he had a little bit more bite than I would have expected, and I thought it came across well.
Yeah, and I would say the villains do bring some stakes to the game, and people do get hurt and people do die in this show, which I appreciate, because normally in a kid's show people stay safe for forever, whereas there's a good amount of that. And Strickler actually, I think, by the end of this season, occupies a little bit of Spike from Buffy's space.
Oh yeah, I would agree.
Because, and I hate to go back to Buffy, but that's like the quintessential teens in high school with monsters and other stuff. And in some ways, this show is similar in terms of setting. And because of that, Strickler ends up having that Spike vibe where by the end, he ends up start making some choices to be the good guy for some, selfish reasons or some good reasons, depending on how you look at it. And I think he'll be back.
As always with Guillermo Del Toro's body of work, this show is very good at its monster lore and its backstory with all of that. The whole troll market and troll history is very ingrained in the show, and it kind of peels back layers of that as you watch, and it just makes for a very immersive viewing experience, which I really like. Like, it's not just a surface level, like, oh, we're gonna piggyback on what you typically think of as, like, trolls or monsters or whatever. Like, it has elements to it that are original and are just, it makes their culture real instead of just this, like, surface level thing.
I agree. The world building in this show is done really well, and I think they do the perfect amount of explaining things and giving you details, and also just in passing mentioning things. So if you come back after an episode and you know there's been a small time gap, they'll mention something that, like, happened or something about the history and just glaze over like, oh yeah, we all know that. But it does give you those details and that depth of, like, wow, there's more going on here than I'm receiving just the shit. It's like a cool snapshot of this world. As with all animated shows, the animation quality and style is very important, and overall I think that the animation style works for this show. What did you think?
I agree. Was it this one that we compared to Jimmy Neutron a little bit, or you did?
Yes, I'm not sure if the teams are the same, but this show, especially at the beginning, like in the way the characters move and stuff, it feels very similar to Jimmy Neutron, and part of that is the style is a little similar in that 3D, like...
Well, not only that, but it's the whole, like, characters
shape.
have heads that are a little too big for their body and stuff like that. And some people, like, I don't know, they just have, like, these really short little kid bodies with big old heads. It's very Jimmy Neutron.
And the way where when they move really fast, they, like, get bendy. So they're, like, curved, and they move real fast, and you're like, oh, and there was one scene that I was just like, I swear they just, like, copy-pasted from Jimmy Neutron in terms of the animation style. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, and I do think they improve upon that, especially in the action sequences, are very impressive for, like, a 3D animated, like, fight scene. It feels smooth and good. It doesn't feel, choppy or anything like that, which can happen with an animation.
And another Guillermo Del Toro staple is the use of color in this show. He is just a master at that, in my opinion. Just the way he does this just rich tones in his show that just blend together well. And I don't know what it is, but it's just so visually appealing. I'm not an artist or a graphic designer in any way, shape, or form, but I just personally really enjoy that aspect to his body of work, and this is no different. This is definitely one of those shows that we highly recommend you checking out. It is on Netflix, so if you have access to that, I really recommend you go watch it, especially now that there are 2 seasons out. I think season 3 is, 2019?
Yes. So
Season 2 review will be coming hopefully in the next week or 2, so if you're interested in that, that will be coming soon. But this show is great. We really enjoyed it. I don't have a ton of negative things to say about it. It's just a little nitpicks here and there, which we've mentioned, but overall, really solid.
Yeah, I felt like it ultimately brings a lot of heart and a lot of good storyline. You definitely feel like things are moving towards something, and the way that storytelling happens, it's not just like a serialized cartoon, which I tend to not love as much. But I end up really liking it. But as always, guys, want to know what you guys thought of the show? Let us know in the comments down below if you've seen this, if you liked it. If you've also seen season 2, let us know what you thought of that. Like we said, we'll have a review coming for that. And subscribe. We have a bunch of TV show reviews at this point on the channel and a bunch of other types of videos too that you can check out. And if you want to see some of those now, you can click right over there, and we'll see you guys next time.